Welcome to Nintendo Ninja News. I'm your host, Chris Tysus, and we're here in a different room due to my laptop playing some silly buggers on me. So we thought we'll do something different and sit here next to the website and talk to you about issues around the Nintendo NX. But it's not really about the NX, it's the people behind the leaks and the rumours and the innuendos and the speculations and things like that. Because the NX was announced or talked about so far and so earlier than expected, it has created all these leaks and rumours and things like that. We've touched on that a couple times about it. We have reported on a couple of things at times where we've been a little bit guilty of that. But just in the recent week, it seems like even the leakers themselves and the people who sort of are around that sort of type of industry are sort of turning on each other a little bit. Things are not so rosy and peachy in that environment. And let's have a look down the suspects list. I've written down a lot of notes and things like that because I'm not at my desk. Everything's on my phone, so things are a little bit higgly-piggly for this. I could have waited a few more days for this, but I thought, while everything's fresh in my mind, it's probably best to get it out as we speak about it. Now, of course, you probably know of this leaker or investigative journalist that she may call herself. She may call herself something else. Emily Rogers. She's sort of been right on a number of things over the years and times like that. And she's been talking about the NX, obviously. Now, on the notes here, she's been saying, after speaking to 7 different people this week, I can now say with confidence that this is false. Well, NX is not using x86 architect like PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. No, let's just read some of the bold stuff that we've looked here. The NX has special custom-made chips, and the overall design of the hardware is very modern. The chips are industry leading because they are very modern chips. And furthermore, the Polyas chips and Polyas architect are all wacky. There's a good reason why those rumors are wacky, but she doesn't actually explain why, so that makes it a bit weird. Numerous sources tell me that the Xbox is much closer to the Xbox One than PS4. Even that might be stretching it a tiny bit. And the other piece of info, but everything I've heard so far indicates NX isn't going to blow away any of the consoles in the market today except for the Wii U. Now, some people have been dissecting the information and trying to understand what that part of the reason means, which is very interesting. So, I don't know. Who knows? Now, this is also the same person who has predicted or has said from different sources that Mother 3 will be coming out on the Wii U Virtual Console, the 3DS Virtual Console, either one of them, out this year. Now, she did this just before she shut down her Twitter account and her blog, and she disappeared because people were annoying her for leaks and issues and saying that she was providing false information. You know, she was getting tired of the hassles and rumors, and then she came back a few months later. Apparently, the main reason why was people were pretending they were her on blogs and websites and things like that, and so she decided to come back and sort of reclaim that she is the official person that she is. But I don't think that's the case. I think that she missed a little bit of the limelight. I think she missed a little bit of that attention. I'll go into a little more details later on what I think of this whole thing. Now, the next person, Liam Robertson, we've heard a bit about him too, with different rumours and things like that. He's predicted some things right and some things wrong, so it's been very interesting. He's sort of known with the Unseen 64, talking about different games and unreleased content games that have never seen the light of day, which is all very interesting. Personally, I don't have much interest in games that never got released because I don't get to play them. Not much point talking much about them. But he has put out some vague statements and things like that, which, in his defense, he says that these are just educated guesses. and we'll go on to educated guesses versus leaks and sources and that. He said that I think NX will be quite diversive when the specs come out, but the games will sway people. Well, who knows what those specs will be? It's all speculation and talk, and rumors are just rumors. So it's hard to really tell what he means by that. Of course, it's going to be diverse because everyone has been predicting, specs and architect from here to there to there to there. So there's going to be people who are going to be upset, and people who are going to be happy about it. So it's kind of stating the obvious in some ways. So he also made the comment last year that the NX is definitely not aiming to compete with the likes of the PS4 on a power level. Absolutely sure of that now. July 2015. Now this comment was a little bit strange because people struggled to figure out if he was making that statement from sources and people that were talking to him, or that was just an educated guess. Now he said it was an educated guess, but it was leaked and talked about by the media and all the different websites and that, because that may have not been clear enough. Also, the other thing that was a little bit concerning, that I noticed at first that on his Patreon account that he was sort of getting people to pay money to talk about sort of inside information and things like that. I've looked at his account today and it looks like none of that sort of info is there anymore. But that was something that I felt like is not a really good thing to do. It's not a really honourable thing to do. So, moving on to the other suspect person, Super MetalDave64. He was the guy that revealed a lot of information about Nintendo's information coming out, games and launch time periods and things like that. He was absolutely correct on most of them and pretty much all of it, except for the part that the NX was coming out late 2016. Now, where I think we could probably get him off on that is that my own theory was that the NX was delayed at a fairly late date, and even Kimishita said that it was pushed back because the games weren't ready, and that seems like a pretty clever, spot-on thing to do, which is great. Now, I would say that he's made comments about the other people, like Liam and Emily, and he says that their statements are vague, and if you have information, just show it. If you don't know and it's just vague speculations and thoughts, there's no point trying to talk about it. I think he got into a bit of trouble because I think he started leaking too much information from the source or two that he had. I think especially about the budget, the marketing budget for the year. I think when he released that, I think that was a really big no-no. And just some of the information that he was leaking was just, the real Nintendo ninjas, I think, got to him in the end, and those videos were pulled off YouTube. And now he's come back to talk about speculations about what the NX may be. So, and the last one is TenKay. Not someone that I know too much. He released some info, and NeoGAF and all the other websites have probably picked it up on it now. He says it's an ARM tech with more RAM than the Wii U, but he doesn't know how much RAM that will be. Specs are above the PS4, which is not what Emily Rogers believes. On paper, it's Xbox One. Okay. There are physical buttons on the controller, touchscreen is unknown, and Nintendo, the employee who worked at Nintendo, gave him ID and information to show his proof or whatever that may be. So that's a very interesting thing. Now, of course, there's been little spats between them all in a way, which is interesting. And here at Nintendo Ninja News, we report on some rumors here and there. We tend to report on the ones that seem to be the most in truth, or just ones that are a little bit interesting to talk about. And I think part of the problem is there's quite a few little problems I feel about them. let's have a look at the points that I've made up. I think these leakers and people do it to get excitement in the fan base, and they want to give something to the fans and do something nice too. But they want a little bit of fame to it too. They want a bit of ego boosting and a little bit of ego rubbing. What's the benefit of leaking Nintendo information, apart from people get to know information quicker? Their own little benefits. This is the guy that leaked the information about the new Legend of Zelda. That's the guy that leaked information about Pokemon or a new Metroid game. There isn't it really. What is the huge benefit? Some people like to be surprised at Nintendo Directs or when it actually is revealed by Nintendo. But that's a whole nother story about, getting spoiled by surprises and things like that. Now, here I think are some of the problems and issues with all these leaks and all these issues that are happening between the four of them. And God knows there's probably more people who are trying to get on the bandwagon of having sources at some place or that uncle at Nintendo. Now, I feel that the blurred line between what is a leak or rumor or educated guess or information from a source, that line has become so blurred now that no one actually knows what it is. So whenever Liam or Emily talks on Twitter, some people sitting there going, is that from a source? Is that an educated guess? Is that I don't really know. And I think they need to state quite clearly what they mean or what that statement or information comes from, because people get confused. That's one of the issues. The NX was talked about too early, causing massive amount of rumors and problems here. Iwata did this to cut off talks about Nintendo going into mobile games and leaving the dedicated hardware space and software in that. That's the only reason why he did that, when they were talking about the first mobile games coming out, and Mia Tomo, the sort of Q&A social networking game. I think that's the only reason why they did it, and they announced it. Now, I think if they didn't have to do that, I think they would have talked about the new console maybe at E3, or maybe a little bit after, and just we wouldn't have had these issues. We wouldn't have, a year and a half to 2 years of this sort of mess of talking about new consoles and rumors and things like that. So these people like Emily and Liam and Super Metal Dave and all the others who I've not named, they must take care when they talk about rumors and thoughts. Clearly state if a sourced leak or if it's just an educated guess before the media jumps onto it. As much as they can't control the media, they should know they have a standing in the community where their word will be taken seriously by people. And I think they don't sort of understand that. When they tweet a message and they say, oh, well, it's not my fault that the media jumped on it. I was just saying it was an educated guess. But they do have to understand that they have this sort of strange placing or standing where, a Nintendo Life website or My Nintendo News or any other websites will just pick up on it and just run with the story without really thinking much about it. And then they sit back and go, oh no, that was not from my sources. That was just me thinking out loud on Twitter for the day. So they have to really, I think they have to be more clear on that. I think that's important. Now, the games media needs to research more than just copy and paste Twitter comments. And you see a lot of these articles when they do, copy information from people from Twitter, says, such and such has come up with this rumor or this, from this source, and they just copy and paste a few Twitter comments on it and goes, oh, it must be true, or read it on Twitter. So it's just really lazy journalism right there. So it's not really good. It's not a smart thing to do. The lack of news for Nintendo this year on new games and the console has fueled these NX rumors and people making up stuff and things like that. So it's part of the reason why I think people are even more on edge about it and getting whingy about those issues. I also feel like throwing mud at the wall to see what sticks tactic should stop. I do feel like that these guys tend to do it from time to time, and that is not the smartest thing to do. I feel that even some educated guesses are not particularly that educated, or it's just really friggin' obvious stuff. That's how I feel. How I feel about them personally, TenKay, I don't know much about, but some of the information doesn't seem that great. Seems like the general feeling about him is that he has not really been providing correct information most of the time. That's the general mood that I get from him. I think that Super Metal Dave probably has the most accurate information, especially the large leaks that he got out, and I don't think he's prepared to do stuff like that anymore. I think he's sort of gone back into just talking about logically, what he thinks will be inside the hardware, the NX. But I think he did go a little bit overboard with the information that he was getting out. I think somewhere along the line that the real Nintendo ninjas got to him. Emily Rogers, I feel, is a hit and a miss. I think some of the information she gets right and good, and then there are times where it's just not right at all. I also feel like some of her guesses or her predictions are extremely obvious, where anyone could come to that conclusion. New gaming console will have running electricity in it. She made things like that Legend of Zelda may have voice acting and male and female characters and things like that. So I'm sorry there, I've been talking too much in this video. So I feel she's a bit of a hit and miss. I think with software she's good, with hardware she struggles. Trying to understand and grasp what it means and that. I should have gotten a drink for this. Now, for Liam Robertson, I do feel like that, apart from his unreleased games, that I think he gets more stuff wrong than he gets right. And I just don't quite believe too much what he says from time to time. Based on what he said. So that's how I feel about the situation. Of the whole leaking stuff, I think they need to take better care when they're doing information like that. And oh my god, I'm so sorry about this. So it's been a bit of a long day here at Nintendo Ninja News, but I think I saw a comment on YouTube about having friends in the industry and things like that. I would think that if you did get sensitive information about Nintendo or anyone in the gaming industry, the best thing would be not to leak the information, because if you did, you are running the chance of getting these people fired and losing their jobs. And no matter how juicy it is, if it's the name of a new console or something amazing like that, it's not worth getting someone to lose their job or their dream job. So that's my thoughts about it. And that's all from me. And I'll see you later on. Bye bye.